Israel and the UAE's historic deal to normalise ties has opened up borders and business opportunities between, of course, the two nations. And we've seen a wave of interest from companies trying to tap into the new markets. One firm is looking to help make that process easier. Dubai-based company set up specialist Virtuzone has formed a joint venture with Apex Holdings, an operator of businesses in the UAE, to help Israeli companies set up operations in the Emirates. Well, Neil Petch is the chairman and co-founder at Virtuzone, joining us now from Dubai. How significant has the uptick been in business inquiries that you've seen in just the last few weeks?
Well, we haven't been shocked, actually, because we've been following it for some time. I think it's pretty inevitable that a country that is a 3-hour flight away from the UAE and one that doesn't quite enjoy 0% corporation tax and 0% income tax, such as we do here, was going to show an awful lot of interest. So we've been monitoring very closely on Google. We have allied ourselves with the UAE Israel Council, which has been in existence for some time. There's been an awful lot of interest already, and we're very, very excited about this.
We were speaking to an Israeli business leader last week who called these accords a game changer. What do you think?
I think absolutely. I mean, look, the world is faced with this black swan event, and where else in the world will suddenly a brand new market open up? And I don't think it's just about Israel to the UAE. I think it's bridging Israel to the CIS, to Africa, and to the Far East as well. I mean, I fervently believe that if you have a made in the UAE, a made in Dubai stamp on the documents that you're dealing with, it's going to open up a lot of business globally and business going in both directions as well. So I think this is fantastic for the economy, fantastic for the region, and I think it's going to be the first of a number of news items that you're going to see of a similar nature.
Neil, it's Hadley out in Dubai. I mean, when you think about this with regards to the ease of doing business, it's a story that I've covered over the last decade plus in terms of, the various different countries have very, very different rules. There's the question of red tape, but really Dubai specifically has made a lot of effort to cut that kind of red tape, to make sure that it's easy to get your business license, that it's easy to open up here. When you think about this with regards to this agreement, what are the challenges that you see in the most immediate term for Israeli businesses and startups to get going here?
Well, pre-COVID, we had already, as the UAE, shot up 10 rankings in the ease of doing business. I sit on a panel for the ease of banking. It's very, very important to the UAE government. But COVID has made that even more the case. And the reason for our joint venture with Apex is because ease of business is not just about making sure that the red tape isn't there. It's making sure also that you can help navigate through what might seem a strange country with a strange set of regulations. So our partnership with Apex allows us to speak that language. We literally, and from a business perspective. So people coming in from all over the world, not just from Israel, will be able to understand exactly which one of the 60 jurisdictions that the UAE offers suits them, so that they set off on the right path, save time and save money. Because once you're set up in the UAE, I would argue that there's no better place in the world. And we're competing, let's face it, with a lot of Israeli companies will previously have set up in perhaps Gibraltar, Malta, Cyprus, Hong Kong, Singapore. And I believe that once set up, the UAE offers massive advantages over all of those jurisdictions. What we've got to do is make it as easy as possible, hold their hand, and I think we're doing a very good job with that.
And Neil, just to follow on to that, I was speaking to a panel of IMF experts yesterday evening. We were just talking about what this could potentially mean for the economies of this part of the world, the Gulf Arab economies, which are, of course, still pegged to oil prices in such a very, very big way. How quickly, was my question, are we going to see this sort of expansion, the cross-border trade, impacting GDP? So how quickly do you think, and granted there is a pandemic, but how quickly do you think that we could see the numbers getting to a point where we're going to have a significant uptick to GDP as a result of these agreements?
I'm speaking to a very biased man because I'm a champion of the startup community, and I believe that it's the startup community that will make this happen much, much faster. The sort of companies that we expect to be setting up here, the business consultancies, management consultancies, fintech companies, the UAE has jurisdictions and entities that enable them to set up very, very fast, light touch regulation, whilst making sure that they are the right people. That means you don't have to have a hugely expensive office and so on. So it means you can dip your toe in the waters of the UAE economy extremely quickly. As soon as you do that, you'll see all the incredible tax benefits and logistical benefits of being based here. So to answer your question, I think enormously fast.
Neil, we're going to have to leave it there. Looking forward to hearing more from you as time goes on. Neil Petch from Virtuzone.